You're probably watching this because you started using Gluco6, or you've been hearing about it, and something just doesn't line up. Maybe you expected your blood sugar numbers to drop faster. Maybe they dropped a little and then stopped. Or maybe you're doing everything you think you're supposed to do, and you're still confused about why the results feel inconsistent. This is a very common frustration, and this is exactly where people start doubting themselves or the tool they're using. What I want to do in this video is explain the whole picture. Not a shortcut explanation, not isolated tips, but how blood sugar regulation actually works inside your body and why glucose alone doesn't always produce the results people expect. As we go through this step by step, things that feel unclear right now will start to make sense. This is important because confusion usually comes from missing context, not from doing everything wrong. Let's start with the core rule that everything else depends on. Blood sugar is not controlled by one supplement, one meal, or one habit. Blood sugar is regulated by a system. That system includes insulin, the liver, muscle tissue, stress hormones like cortisol, sleep quality, digestion, and how often your body is forced to deal with incoming glucose. I'm going to repeat this because it matters. Blood sugar is a system. Gluco6 can support that system, but it cannot override it. This is where the major mistake happens. People treat Gluco6 like a direct blood sugar reducer, almost like flipping a switch. They expect it to push numbers down no matter what else is going on. But biologically, that's not how the body works. Gluco6 supports insulin sensitivity and glucose handling, but if the system around it is working against you, the effect will look weak or inconsistent. This is why you're confused. The first thing that blocks results is constant insulin stimulation. Many people take Gluco6 and still eat in a way that keeps insulin elevated all day. Frequent snacking, refined carbohydrates, sweetened drinks, or even healthy carbs eaten too often all trigger insulin release. Insulin's job is to move glucose out of the blood and into cells. But when insulin is released over and over, cells stop responding properly. This is insulin resistance. I've seen this countless times. Someone tells me they eat small portions, so they assume their blood sugar should be stable. But they're eating every 2 hours. Their pancreas never gets a break. Gluco6 can help cells respond better to insulin, but it cannot fix nonstop insulin signaling. This is where people get stuck without realizing it. The next thing we need to talk about is stress because this is underestimated. Cortisol, your main stress hormone, raises blood sugar. It does this intentionally to give you energy when your body thinks you're in danger. If you're sleeping poorly, running late every morning, constantly worried, or relying heavily on caffeine, cortisol stays elevated. When cortisol is high, your liver releases glucose into the bloodstream, even if you haven't eaten. This is why some people wake up with high fasting blood sugar and feel confused. They assume it must be food related. Often it's not. It's a nervous system issue. Gluco6 does not shut off cortisol. If stress and sleep are ignored, the liver keeps dumping sugar, and the supplement looks ineffective. I remember a patient who was doing everything right nutritionally. Low sugar, consistent supplement use, decent meals. But she slept 5 hours a night and worked under constant pressure. Her blood sugar didn't improve until her sleep improved. This is important. Blood sugar is regulated while you sleep, not just while you eat. Another major piece people miss is muscle. Muscle tissue is the largest place glucose is stored and used. When muscle is inactive, glucose has nowhere to go. This is pure physiology. You can improve insulin sensitivity chemically, but if muscles aren't pulling glucose out of the blood, numbers stay elevated. This is why something as simple as walking after meals is so powerful. It's not about burning calories. It's about activating muscle glucose uptake. I've seen people make no changes to supplements and see improvements just by adding short walks. This is where people get confused because they think blood sugar is only about diet. It's not. Let's correct another common myth you've probably heard online. People say that lowering carbs automatically fixes blood sugar. Lowering carbs can help reduce spikes, but it does not automatically restore insulin sensitivity. If cells are resistant, the underlying problem remains. This is why some people eat very low carb and still have high fasting glucose. The issue is cellular signaling, not just carbohydrate intake. Digestion also plays a role that almost no one talks about. If digestion is slow, inflamed, or imbalanced, glucose absorption becomes unpredictable. Fiber intake, stomach acid, enzyme production, and gut bacteria all influence how fast sugar enters the bloodstream. Two people can eat the same food and get completely different blood sugar responses. This is not willpower. This is biology. This is also why progress often feels slow. Blood sugar regulation improves in stages. First, appetite becomes more stable. Then energy crashes reduce. Then mental clarity improves. Numbers often change last. This is important because people quit when they don't see immediate numerical results, even though internal improvements are already happening. Toward the end, we need to zoom out even further. High blood sugar is not the root problem. The root problem is insulin resistance and metabolic dysfunction at the cellular level. When cells cannot accept glucose efficiently, the body compensates by producing more insulin. Over time, this damages blood vessels, nerves, and organs. Glucose supports healthier glucose handling at the cellular level, but only when the environment allows repair. When sleep improves, stress hormones calm down, muscles are used regularly, digestion stabilizes, and insulin signaling becomes clearer, blood sugar begins to normalize, not dramatically, not overnight, but steadily. And steady improvement is what real healing looks like. So if you're using Gluco6 and feeling unsure, this does not mean you failed. It means you're looking at one piece of a much larger system. When that system is supported properly, the approach becomes powerful, gentle, and sustainable. And once you understand that, the confusion starts to disappear.